Some rivalries are born geographically, others are bred through decades of intense battles. Today isn't about postcode bragging rights, it's more about two heavyweights of world football swinging, heading their way back to the top table. Regardless of location or how much the game means, it's always a big one. Chelsea and Manchester United. We've played in Champions League finals, FA Cup finals. You remember the Drogba flick over Van der Sar. You remember John Terry's deft header here at the Bridge on Remembrance Sunday. Joe Cole's mazy spin and finish to win the league in '06. We've had our moments. That rainy night in Moscow, they've had theirs as well, in fairness. Charismatic captains, snarling strikers, moments of magic from the best players in the world. Chelsea Man United always seems to deliver. Not just on the pitch, on the touchline as well. We've seen Frank and Ollie have a go. We've seen Jose and Fergie. We've seen Kanté and Jose. Today, two new managers take their place in these dugouts and give it a go themselves, hoping to write their names into the headlines. This may not be a Premier League title decider, an FA Cup final or a Champions League final, but believe me, it means a lot today. Not only are these two rivals closer than ever, they're further apart than ever, 201 miles. But today, before kick-off, Chelsea and Manchester United are separated by just one Premier League point. Good afternoon and welcome to Stamford Bridge. Chelsea and Manchester United do battle this afternoon. Both heading into it in good form. 4 wins in 5 from both. Graham Potter makes 4 changes from the side that drew with Brentford in the week. Manchester United's big team news rolls around one man who isn't involved this afternoon. Cristiano Ronaldo, not at Stamford Bridge, as far as we're aware anyway. Not involved in their team, certainly. I'm pitch side with Pat Nevin and Zach Gellert. Boys, how are we?
Very good. Excited about it?
Yeah. Well, I was going to start with that, Pat. It's an exciting game to be involved in. You played in this game.
Yeah, quite a few times, and it never goes away. Just have the classic strips. You know, you see a Man United strip there, and there's no getting away from it. They are one of the great clubs in world football. In fact, they're nearly as good as us. Okay, but I'm exaggerating a wee bit. But no, it's a big game. If you come to the Premier League, wherever you come to, anywhere in the world, this is one of the games you always wanted to see. But arguably now, as much, if not more than ever. So both teams try to get back up there, back to where they feel they should be and where they know they should be. And this season, with that one point that you mentioned, we're going to find out a lot today. A lot.
We are going to find out a lot. And Zach, I suppose that's the truth. It's the biggest test for Graham Potter as Chelsea coach so far. Biggest test for Erik ten Hag potentially as well, because we all expected Manchester City to run away with it. This is probably the closest the two teams have been in a long time.
Yeah, two teams that are kind of finding their form, finding their feet now. Obviously, Manchester United have had some pretty good results recently. They're finding themselves flowing better, finding kind of which players were starting in the right position. You see Casemiro, all these kind of guys now starting week in, week out. And so, yeah, I think both teams are going to be obviously wanting to come and take 3 points today. I think Chelsea more so obviously being at home as well. I think if you offered it to most United fans out there and said, look, you take a draw at Stamford Bridge, I think most of them would bite your hand off for it. Whereas I think here at home, we will be wanting to take 3 points.
Absolutely right. And in fairness, Pat, you know, the game in midweek against Brentford, a little bit of a continuation from the Villa game, in control for a lot of it, just unable to get 3 points from it.
Look, winning games away from home in the Premier League is hard. It's really hard. Liverpool are finding that out just now. Everyone, it doesn't matter where you go, unless you bring your A game to it, it's very, very hard. We've gone on a run now since Graham Potter's come in. We've still not lost a game. We're not losing many goals. So that's something you've got to be delighted with. You're going to have to grind it now and again. And certainly we had opportunities to win the game against Brentford. As you say, we seem to get stronger and stronger. That makes me feel good. I'm watching some teams just now. I go around the country, I watch and go to a lot of games. There's a lot of teams tiring in second halves. We're not. We seem to be growing and getting more stronger and powerful. We have got strength and depth in this squad. It's something that we should be actually really pleased about. So no, we didn't get 3 points in Brentford. A lot of teams won't. But I'm really happy with what we're doing. I'm really happy that I'm seeing a build constantly on what Graham Potter is bringing into the team. When you're not giving goals away, you get a chance. So again, I'm very, very positive about the team, extremely positive. Bring your A game today and we've got a very good chance to take all 3 points.
Completely agree, and you know, Pat's mentioned the strength and depth there, Zach. We saw that in the week. Armando Broja given his opportunity, and I thought he was very impressive. He always gives it all, doesn't he? And he's quite lucky not to have been on the score sheet as well.
Yeah, you can see already at the level that he's at such a young age, he's raw, and he's ready to be developed as well. And under Graham Potter, he's seen over his career of developing players and making them into high-profile numbers. I mean, we took Kukurea from Brighton, which he managed to do there. And Broja is someone who I think is looking, obviously signed a new long-term deal. He's going to be with Chelsea for a long, long time, and we see our future with him up top. And I mean, against Brentford,
that pace was brilliant, wasn't
exactly,
it?
yeah, exactly. That's one of his best. That's one of his best assets. Is going in behind, his pace behind the striker. I mean, if you're a defender and you're coming up against Armando Broja, it's not going to be a fun evening, that's for sure.
It's persistence, and I think that was picked up quite a lot on social media. His physicality, the pace acceleration that he's got. He's one of those players, Pat, where, and I hate to use it, but if you're building a centre forward, you build someone of Armando's stature, Armando's pace, and his physical attributes. He's got everything to be an excellent centre forward.
Yeah, every one of those messages that we're getting there, I've all said the same word: pace, speed, quick. Now let's be fair about it. When you've got that ridiculous pace, now maybe me's not the quickest player in the world, right?
Yeah.
But even so, in that burst of pace that we saw there, and a couple of other occasions, every striker in the world wants that. Every player who's playing behind the striker wants him to have that, because it makes your average balls look good. All you need to do is put it back in there, he'll chase it. And his attitude's great, isn't it? I mean, he's chasing every single ball.
Yeah.
He's strong, his physical aptitude is fantastic as well. I sometimes forget he's only a baby. He's very, very young. There's a lot of improvement to come with the big man, and he scored the goal the other day. It was the fourth goal, wasn't it? And I thought it's going to be ignored a wee bit by a lot of people. But Chelsea fans, we kind of know, don't we? That's going to be the first of many. That's going to be an important one for us to look back on and say, that's where it started. He could have a huge future at this club. Because we always think about the big names, don't we?
Yeah.
And the huge amounts of money that we've spent on strikers over the years. He's a good one to have it.
Absolutely right. We're going to talk a lot more about Carney Chukwuemeka throughout the season, but very impressive, very quickly, very impressive in the minutes that he got at Brentford as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to be that age and to come on and to make an impact as well as a substitute is not an easy thing to do when you're obviously not winning, you're not losing either. To drive with the ball through midfield like this, it's impressive. I think you're only just starting to see what he brings. And if you're a Chelsea fan, it's very, very exciting. He's going to be one for the future. I think Chelsea are banking on it here. It's smart. It's already, you're seeing really good decisions in those areas, which for some people can take years to develop.
Completely right. It's quite a lot of people that have been saying, not only a huge vote of confidence, the fact that Graham Potter is elected for him, because we needed a goal, and he come on and very much proved that he could be a difference maker for Chelsea. Come very close to winning it right at the end for Chelsea as well. But he's certainly a player that we're going to see a lot more of over the coming years. And again, like Pat's already pointed out with Armando Broja, a young player that's got a lot to offer in the games out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, both of them. You look at this Chelsea squad and the academy as well. There are so many players that you're going to be seeing coming through, and you've seen as well with the acquisitions that we brought in during the summer. The idea is for the future. The idea is, okay, we can develop them now with a really strong squad, but in the next 3 years, goodness, this Chelsea squad could really be something.
Absolutely right. The players are just entering the pitch to get warmed up, ready for the game. It's obviously going to be a big one this afternoon. Chelsea-Manchester United always is. So let's head over to the gantry for Jason and Ben to talk through the team news. Over to you, boys.
Good afternoon all, and good evening, Mr. Kanté.
Good evening, good afternoon.
One change from United. We'll talk about that in a minute with Fred out, interestingly, and Eriksen in. 4 for Chelsea, some out of choice, some not. Koulibaly's got a knock, that's why he's not even on the bench. So the only 3 fit centre-backs, if you like, with Aspie having to play at right wing-back in the absence of Reece James, play. That's Trev, Thiago Silva, who's back in, and Kukurea. Gallagher out, Broja out, Havertz out, Jorginho coming in, Aubameyang back in, and Raheem Sterling back in. Looks very strong up top, Jason. And for once, we're not debating whether it's a 4 or a 5 at the back, because that is definitely 3 with wing-backs, isn't it?
Yes, well, absolutely. And unless we're going to see something very, very strange, which I don't expect to see. Yeah, he has a few problems, Potter, and he's trying to solve it with... Look, we saw Kukurea against Villa last weekend, and it was a tough afternoon's work for him, and he struggled, and half-time we saw that change, and I felt we gained a little bit more control with that. But clearly, as his former manager, and I've seen him here, by the way, a couple of seasons, in fact, it was last season, he turned up here with Brighton, with Potter. He was the best player on the pitch. So he clearly trusts him. the problem that Cucurella had is he kept getting sucked into those areas where the relationship between you and the man in front of you, or that defensive midfielder, or whoever the midfielder in his front, or maybe even Chilwell, you need that cover. What you don't want to get done in is get drawn into an area where you become vulnerable in the back. And then what happens is the space becomes bigger, Chilwell changes, whoever's playing centre of the back three changes, the whole shape of the back five, back three changes completely. And that, I felt, was a real problem for us, not just that side, but also on the right side. But clearly they worked on it, Ben, and I think that we have to trust the process, trust the manager. And I'm a big fan of Cucurella, by the way, so I'm going to go with this and say, OK, let's see how this plays out.
Jorginho in for ball control, and we're going to touch on this during the warm-up later. They've got Eriksen in for Fred for ball control. Who's going to blink first here? This is, I think both managers will look at these two team sheets and go, oh, won't they?
Yes, I think if you're Ten Hag, you look at that situation and feel there's spaces to exploit. What they've gone for is Bruno, Casemiro and Eriksen. They are three very intelligent, ball-retaining footballers. They're those little triangles, there'll be movements. Bruno's starting to really purr at the moment, as is Casemiro. Eriksen comes back, different player to Fred, which I find interesting because actually, I look at that team, I think they can come here and dominate the ball. That's what that midfield tells me. We can come here and dominate Chelsea. Can we keep the ball? Can we have the lion's share of possession? And if we do that enough, with the pace of Sancho, Anthony and Rashford, can we hurt them in behind? That is what we've got to really consider.
We're going to talk about that more in the warm-up, but absolutely, I came here today presuming that this would be a Man U side that would try and do that, wait, sit, and then go with all that pace and catch Chelsea, like happened last year with Jorginho being caught by Sancho, and we know what happened there. A couple of 1-1s last season. They're in good form as well. Both of these two have won 5 out of 6. It's a pretty impressive record for the pair of them. We'll talk more about it in the warm-up. Back to you lot down there.
Cheers, Ben. Thank you, Jason. Brilliant as always. Yeah, boys, Chelsea Man United is always one that you get excited about, isn't it? Quite a lot of people having their say on social media over the last week, just hyping up the fact that Chelsea Man United, it's the one that you circle on the calendar, isn't it, you know? People are talking about being an underrated rivalry, and I completely agree with that, you know. It feels like these two teams, for the best part of 15, 20 years, just going toe-to-toe all the time. It was one or the other, wasn't it? You know, and it feels like we've grown up with it, certainly, Zach, where these have been the biggest two. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you had the Jose and Sir Alex Ferguson era, which was crazy, and that's where it really started. Obviously, Chelsea coming through and having the players like Didier Drogba, Frank Lampard, John Terry, Ashley Cole, these guys that loved a rivalry. They lived for it, and they were also up against a fantastic Manchester United side. Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs, Cristiano Ronaldo as well, who isn't here today. Yeah, I mean, it's a rivalry that I think has been developed over those since, like, really, 2004, but I mean, taking it more to the next level, if anything. But yeah, it's definitely one you circle and you get excited for sure. It feels like Chelsea kind of go through stages, don't we? In the 70s and 80s, it was Leeds that were kind of the one team you felt you played 5 or 6 times a season. Yeah. Then Man United, it felt like we come up against Liverpool as well in the early 2000s. What about you, Pat, as a player and then obviously working at Chelsea? Have Man United always been about, or is it only recently we've become aware of it? I have to be honest, the Manchester United, when I say recent, you know, last couple of decades, before that, you know, Man United would have sniffed at the idea that we would put themselves in the same bracket as us. And I think they were still sniffing early days when we started to get the upper hand with them. But there's no doubt, they're two world-class clubs now. And, you know, we want to be up there. I tell you the classic example of it is when you're playing against Manchester United. I remember sitting beside Colin Pates, and he said to me, I said to him, who are we playing today? That's the sort of thing I would say, right? And he went, Man United, and went, oh, I really ought to have known that, you know, because I kind of hadn't prepped for it really very well. But see, when you make a goal or score a goal against Man United, you don't forget it. You never ever forget a game. If you're playing for Chelsea against Man United and you score or make a goal, you never ever forget it. And that tells you as a player how important that game is. Coming from a man that has made a goal against Manchester United as well, by the way, I want to throw that in there. He's not going to say it himself, but it's an absolute blinder. One word then, Pat, that describes the Chelsea-Manchester United rivalry for you. Exciting, exhilarating. I'll go for that. Zach? Impactful. Thank you very much. We asked this to Graham Potter yesterday. We'll hear this a little bit later on in the show, but we asked the fans outside as well, one word, what they felt about Chelsea-Man United. Have a look at this. Think of Chelsea Man United, what's the one word you think of?
Passion.
Amazing. Gotta win.
Excited. Victory. Intense.
I'm nervous.
3 points. That's 2 words technically. Nervous. One word ahead of Chelsea Man United. What an entrance and what an exit that is from Bridget right at the end. But that's what it's about, and people are saying some great words in there. Passion's the one that I think that we heard a few times. People that didn't want to come on camera were saying it as well. It is a passionate derby, Zach, and it's one I suppose now we keep alluding to it, but it feels like because maybe we're neither of us are the team at the very top at the moment, we're closer than ever.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we've always been maybe over the recent years, actually, we've been a bit ahead of Manchester United. But for a while, as Pat kind of mentioned earlier, we have been very close. As you said, now we are very close as well. Both teams that are looking to try and get to that top 4 this season, and we'll see that as a very good accomplishment and a season well done. And because of that, games like this are 6-pointers. Right? It is about passion. These games essentially could, come the end of the season, decide your season and whether you finish above Manchester United.
Completely right, mate. Completely right. It's so important because it is a big game, and for a big game as well, it was a fantastic cause that Chelsea is supporting today. It's the Rainbow Laces campaign. If you haven't seen this, decoration all around the ground to support inclusivity in football and make everything and everyone very welcome when they come to Chelsea Football Club. It's so important to have that, Zach. There are laces everywhere as well. I think I've still got mine in my pocket, in fact, yet. So we've got rainbow laces as well that some of the players will be wearing. Pat, it's so important, isn't it? Because obviously we know that there's still a lot of work to do, but days like today are important for that reason.
Yeah, and it's good that Chelsea have always been backing this campaign right from the start. Some of us have been backing it for decades, but the more that we talk about it, no matter everybody around here knows about it, the more the media talk about it. To be fair, it's hard sometimes pushing it in the media because, it's not a story they want to put. First time, yeah, they'll do it. But each year they get a little bit bored with it, but you need to keep on saying it. Football's for absolutely everyone. Equality is for absolutely everyone. And everyone who comes to this ground, supports our football club, should be made welcome. And doing this just now and making it such a big part of that club it's important. It's very, very important.
Completely agree, and very well put, mate. You're absolutely right. There's decorations all around the ground this afternoon to make sure that everyone knows that this is a place where everyone is welcome and everyone feels included and involved in being a Chelsea fan and being a part of a fantastic game of football hopefully this afternoon. As you walk outside Stamford Bridge, if you're walking from Fulham Broadway, you'll see all on the lampposts, all the decorations and colouring on there as well, and then all along the shed wall as well there is a massive rainbow lace which me and Zach had a little look at earlier on today. So myself and Zach have come outside, and as you can see, all along the shed wall today is the Rainbow Laces sign, the sign to encourage inclusivity in football, which is obviously massively important. And I know that we're very lucky to be here on a daily basis for match days anyway, but it's nice to see the amount of families that are coming and really kind of emphasise the fact that football is for everyone.
Yeah, mate, 100%. I mean, football, and especially the level that professional clubs have, not just Chelsea but everyone, you can make such an impact. You can have such an impact. You attract so many different crowds, so many different types of people from all different places and origins, and it's amazing to see us continue to support it and doing such a good job at it as well. I mean, the job that Chelsea do continuously, not just on social media, but the projects they run and just like this, having it around the stadium, showing that you're supporting, you're a part of it, having the captain's armband as it's really, really impressive. I don't think people realise how much it means to people. Seeing their support from their club and showing that they are accepted, they are brilliant, and it's amazing to see.
Obviously, all football clubs are doing their part at the moment to tackle any sort of discrimination or any sort of ill feeling to anyone coming to football, because it's not what football's about. Football's about coming to it, being passionate, enjoying it, supporting your team and cheering it on, and kind of connecting with people that are similar-minded to you in that sort of aspect. Obviously, Chelsea as a football club is very much on the forefront of that, like you've already mentioned. We talk about the great work done across the football club. Obviously, Magda Eriksson and Pernille Harder, very, very much outspoken in terms of how much football still needs to come on and still needs to do its bit. Days like today are so important for that exact reason, because there is still work to be done. But then, like you said, if you're turning up today and you see this and you see the whole community that are buying into the fact that everybody is welcome, everybody is here because they're a Chelsea fan, that must be so nice and so important, because I certainly feel it as a Chelsea fan. I'm happy that this football club is welcoming of everyone.
100%, of course. And you've got to remember as well, like the clubs of Chelsea Football Club have such a global audience that they watch this stuff at home. They see that they are being supported, and you don't have to be in England. You could be watching in Japan. You could be watching in Chicago, Africa, wherever it might be, and you can see that whatever it may be, whether you're gay, straight, whatever it might be, you are accepted and you're part of the club and you're part of the family. It doesn't matter any of that, because you're perfectly great, and also that you are part of Chelsea.
Absolutely right, mate. Absolutely right. And obviously we've got this all the way along the shed wall today. We've got all the detail inside the ground as well. There's going to be a demonstration of inclusivity before the game as well. We've got rainbow laces that you can see that a lot of the players will be wearing and supporting today, and wearing on their boots as well, which will look fantastic. Chelsea as a football club are doing a lot. In fact, we've done a video that went out across social media over the last couple of days, and if you haven't seen it, here it is now.
We are here to challenge a perception.
What perception?
Of a Chelsea fan. You might say we are passionate. Others might call us difficult.
Are we not? I say we're resilient.
We weather the highs and the lows. We call ourselves tough, when in reality...
We are emotional too.
Our emotions run deep.
Passion is all we know, but that can be tough too.
We are the pride of London, and trust me, we're proud of it.
But I'm not from London?
Neither am I.
Really, we're the pride of many cities. Some might think we're closed-minded, when in reality,
We are close to each other.
We are a sea of people.
waves of emotions, tides of glory. We are here to support each other, on and off the pitch.
We are the pride of London.
A pride that rebels.
A pride that is celebrated.
A pride in all those who wear our badge.
We are Chelsea supporters.
And we are proud to be blue, to be us, to be different, to be who we are.
We're proud to be supporting rainbow laces.
To celebrate inclusion in football, at Chelsea and beyond. Let's lace up and speak up to celebrate inclusion on and off the pitch. We are one team.
Fantastic. Yeah, Chelsea very much playing their part and doing their bit to introduce and include everybody involved in the football world and environment this afternoon. Right, boys, this is the part where it's really difficult because trivia time. Okay, so here's the question for this afternoon. We'll give you the answer at half-time, so we've got a little while to mull it over. Pat, you're on commentary, so you're a bit busy, so I need your help now. Which Premier League icon scored his first goal for his club in the December 92 1-1 draw between these two teams? That's not a clue, obviously, the picture, because that's Kanté, isn't it?
92.
Premier League icon scored his first goal for his club in the... Right, now, 92, I'm thinking either, because they've not mentioned Chelsea, it might be Man United, so it could be Eric Cantona.
92.
92?
Oh, wow. Is that before Beckham?
Before.
Yeah, just before. Is it? Because you're talking first year of the Premier League, yeah?
Yeah, it could be before that, couldn't it? 91, 92, December 92, no, it will be 92, 93.
It'll be 92, 93. Okay. So it's first one of the Premier League.
Okay. All right.
That's
Too early for Beckham.
All right, well, don't give it away now. If you know, Pat, you can tell me before you go.
I don't know.
Somebody that I'm certain will know the answer is Ben Andrews. Ben, Jason, over to you, boys.
I do not know the answer, but I don't know. It might be Cantona. It could even be Cundy.
No.
When did you make it?
No. I mean, can we play?
Well,
I don't know the answer. Can we play along?
We'll have a
I'm gonna go Cantona because he started the Premier League season with Leeds.
Yeah, he won the title with Leeds. 91 came to
And then he started the Premier League season,
but I feel like it should be a Chelsea
and then
answer.
Well, you know what these guys are production like. Liam seems like a nice lad, really, but deep down he wants to try and destroy us.
Ever since we got them all right last year. Right, everybody, welcome to the warm-up with Trivago. Wherever we go, Trivago is with us, and today we are, of course, at Stamford Bridge, watching the boys in blue here, Mason Mount and co, ahead of a very tasty, genuinely intriguing Chelsea versus Manchester United. So many 1-1 draws between these two clubs, both of them last season, often a little bit cat and mouse, and this one as tough to predict as any of them, but both winning far more than losing at the moment. Man U coming off well, frankly, a spanking of Tottenham that should have been a lot more than it was. Chelsea coming off another clean sheet, but for once shut out at Brentford. Lots to discuss, including our 3 points for 3 points, Mr. Cundy. Now, we often talk about a fast start. We're going to do that now. In terms of the fast start today, I wondered whether for them as well as us, who might just be a bit cagier and keep it to begin with, who might actually go for that fast start. Is it important today for Chelsea to come out hard and fast, or is it actually a day to go, well, hang on, let's keep it and see what you're going to do?
Well, do you know what? It's something that you and I, Ben, I think this is probably the most asked question between you and I in the last X amount of years you and I have been doing this. And you always ask for that, and of course everyone wants it, but
sometimes there is a time not to.
There is, and I think their midfield gives me a little bit of an indication that there's going to be a bit more of a measured, certainly approach from Manchester United, the way that they're going to approach this game. Fred would give me that one where they want to close down a bit higher at the pitch. In terms of what I always feel the home side, the duty is, or certainly the responsibility of the home side, is to get the home crowd behind them. And if that's what you want, then get the home crowd behind. It's a 5:30. We're in autumn. The lights are on. We're starting to feel, you know, that kind of atmosphere you get around this time of year. The lights are on. It's going to look. It's going to be daylight when the game starts, but actually when it ends, it's going to be a different atmosphere. So I'm thinking that both teams would, of course, they love a fast start, but I think controlling the tempo of the game would be ideal.
We're going to get to that tempo, actually, in a moment. Just have a look at this, though. This is the start of Aston Villa, and I thought there was Brentford as well. If you remember, Brentford, right from the beginning of the game, actually took it to Chelsea. And this is Villa last weekend. This is literally the first 60 seconds of the game. And Villa were very front foot, and Chelsea ended up conceding a set piece and hadn't really had a touch on the ball. And funnily enough, while it had been just such an excellent run with Wolves and the Milan games, you liked everything about what Potter, and we're seeing Cucurella getting sucked out there. Look, there's a, you know, this is Villa doing a fast start to Chelsea at home, and that kind of set the tone, didn't it? And I actually thought the opening minutes, Brentford did something fairly similar midweek, and they had Rico Henry down the right, and it gives them a chance early on here to have a go at the Chelsea goal. And there's been a couple of slow starts recently, haven't there?
Yes, there have been, and you know, there's two ways of countering it. Look, obviously, the opposition, how are they going to play? Look, we're less than a minute in here, and this chance here, Cover does ever so well. I thought there might have been a penalty being given away. I wasn't quite sure whether Ruben saw the run. I think it might have been Ings on the outside of him. There's always that one, the guilty, where you swing a foot and you don't know the player's there. But look, starts of a game are always important, but touches on the ball as well. We're a side that likes touches on the ball, controlling the tempo of the game. When we took the lead, I said in the comment, I remember saying it, I'd like to see us now control the game. We've taken the lead fortuitously through a bad header from Mings, and then of course Mace taking advantage. I thought the game would then have a pattern. It didn't, Ben. It didn't change. Nothing changed. And I wonder whether United are going to come here now and feel, let's try and impose ourselves on this game. How can we do that? Well, we can control the tempo of the game. Let's take that away from Chelsea. It's hard, Ben, because refereeing decisions, a rash challenge. We just saw Cucurella come out making a decision that you'd like to think he wouldn't make again today. Free kick given away early on. Ball gets pumped in the box. Don't deal with the first header. Not 60 seconds in, a ball comes across the face of the 6-yard box. Normally that doesn't happen in a game. That's rare. But you know, do you know what, Ben? All I want to see in the first 3 or 4 minutes of this game, every player get a touch. Can we ease our way into this game and not get Man United controlling the tempo? Can we control or have some say in the tempo of the game?
Just before we talk a little bit more about tempo, just these are the goals Man United scored last season. This is point 2, really, about their turnover, right? Be wary of it. Now, this is Jorginho trying to take a touch, and Sancho goes through, and equalises. And it was similar, it was an error at their place as well. If you remember, Jason, it was late in the season. Marcos Alonso had put Chelsea 1 up, and then N'Golo makes a mistake, and N'Golo loses out there, and it ends up, it's the sort of quick turnover of possession, punishing the mistakes. That was His Royal Highness Cristiano Ronaldo is not involved at all today. They like that quick turnover, and it's a way they have punished if they play countering, although we're not sure they're going to today.
Don't know, they've got the ability to do that, Ben. They've got the ability to actually
well, Sancho,
play.
Anthony and Rashford are quick.
So they are, and they have the ability to certainly play. They'll be wary of how good we are with our ball retention, certainly under Potter. The game has changed with us. We are, OK, last 2 games you can make an argument to say that we've not been as good as we should be. But actually, the reality is we are a good footballing side, and the team we put out today is a good ball retention team. They will be aware of that. They're not naive, they're not stupid. Ten Hag has been around the block too many times. He will know exactly what to expect. So I think that there is a fear from them from a counter-attack. I think there will be that worry, that concern. It's about us, Ben, really. We're the home side. Can we dictate? Can we control? Even if we don't go anywhere. I like to see games, Ben, sometimes. We just move the ball. Get ourselves into a pattern, getting players touch on the ball as well. But
well, that tempo
both sides will fancy it.
That tempo you're talking about there, Jason, given that they brought Eriksen in for Fred and they have Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno in there, how do Chelsea go about controlling the tempo as you want to see that happen, given that they appear to have quite a midfield that themselves may well be wanting to control the tempo?
Right, okay.
How do you win that battle of who controls the tempo?
Okay, so controlling the tempo in the midfield is, for me, is a number of things. One, obviously you want the ball back forward, not giving it away, but you've got to make sure you get the front 3 involved, because you can have possession of the ball without really being that impressive. So I mentioned about touches on the ball, but what we want to do, I felt we didn't last week, didn't see enough of Aubameyang in the early first half, didn't see any of Havertz, got taken at half time. Mason was a bit part player, bits and pieces. Can we get our front 3? So control the tempo, but also carry a threat. That's what you want to do. You want to get them considering if Chelsea have possession of the ball and we're worried about their wing backs, which we obviously consider ourselves an attacking wing back side, we want to make sure they consider that. But what we also want to concern is when we give that ball away, to ensure that they don't control that, because with Casemiro, and certainly when Fred taken out, I didn't see that coming like you. Now they've got Eriksen and they've got Bruno. Well, those 3 players there, they are very good at keeping ball, little triangles, moving in support. Bruno's the one. Bruno will go and support in wide areas. You expect Eriksen to be the one, probably, to be a little bit more progressive and go and join early on, maybe sit, so you've got those 2, but there's no real defensive midfielder there, Ben. That's the thing that really stands out for me. There's not that McFred that we speak so often about. There's not the one that really says, well, he's the defensive midfielder that's going to stop the attack. We need to maybe, if we can control the early tempo, can we capitalise on the fact that they don't have that natural player in there?
So many interesting points here, and the players have gone back in, so no one's warming up right now. But let's hear from the man who, well, many are suggesting this is his biggest test so far, and I don't think they're wrong in suggesting that. Here's Graham Potter.
The first word that comes into my head when I think about Chelsea versus Manchester United, I think, is exciting. It's a fantastic game to be involved in, and we're really looking forward to it. I would say memories from the game, I think they've always been very, very intense, the games between Chelsea and Manchester United, certainly at Stamford Bridge. I know recently we've suffered a little bit, but we'd like to turn that around for the weekend. Really looking forward to hopefully playing our part in that fantastic history. The reflections of Manchester United and Erik ten Hag are we had a positive result against them at Old Trafford. First game of the season, a tough game as you'd imagine. I think they've improved a lot since then. I think they've adapted a lot to the players that they have, and also the competition. So it's going to be an interesting game, tough game, but as I said earlier, an exciting game. Yeah, the coaches, myself, we've all been really, really pleased, and we're really enjoying our time here. Everybody's been so positive, everybody's been so helpful. the players, the staff, everyone's you know, going out of their way to try and help, which is fantastic when you're new to anywhere. Yeah, we need to enjoy that, but to keep moving forward, to keep the good feeling that we think that there is here at Cobham and around the club. And yeah, myself and the coaches are in a really good place. We're very happy here. Yeah, Kanté had a good impact, I think, from the bench against Brentford. I think he showed his quality. He's a young player, but he's got huge potential. Got some really exciting attributes. He can attack the back line. He can affect the goal. He's still learning, of course, but already we can see the quality that he has, and we need to help him enjoy his football, because that will help reach his full potential, which is really exciting.
Thank you very much, Graham. Thank you.
Love that. Love hearing Graham Potter get excited as well about a Chelsea-Man United game, because it is a big game, and as fans, you want to hear your managers excited as well, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, as we mentioned earlier, these are one of the games that you do look forward to. You look, where is it in the diary? What am I doing around that week? You know, I haven't got any plans. Make sure I've not got anything. I can make sure I can sit back and watch it and take it all in. Because also one thing about Chelsea United games, they're normally classics. They're normally games you look back on and think, wow, that was either high scoring, or a team got dominated, or they have some sort of manager beef as well. I remember obviously Jose when he was there as well with the Kanté incident as well. But yeah, no, looking forward to it.
It's one of those, like you said, you do look for, but it's really important as well to get a result over Manchester United. And I suppose it's probably come at the right time, because, you know, Chelsea are in good form. Manchester United are likewise, but also there's been quite a lot of noise Manchester United side the last couple of days about Cristiano and about changes, etc. So if you're a Chelsea fan, you kind of come into it. There's not been a lot of chat from a Chelsea side, which I suppose you'd kind of want.
Yeah, for sure. I think obviously when the headlines aren't necessarily about the game and they're about other stuff affecting you, it can maybe mentally play aside. But also I think from the United players' views, like, they had a fantastic game. They won without him. And so really, if anything, that might drive them to go, we don't need him. We can do whatever it might be. But yeah, from the Chelsea point of view, I think it's all very much like focused on the match. They've been focused on it since obviously midweek, since Brentford, and about trying to get a result. And I think that's, fingers crossed, is what they'll do today.
And also, I suppose there's the point of, this is the first time that Graham Potter's not come off a very positive result. You know, obviously the first game that he had was a Champions League draw, but we had about 3 or 4 weeks or something crazy since we played before then, and etc. So this is the first time where he'll demand some sort of reaction from his team, and it'll be interesting to see how quickly Chelsea start this afternoon.
100%. Look, it's Manchester United at Stamford Bridge. Like, there is only really one expectation here, is not to lose at the bare minimum. I think Chelsea will be wanting to go and get 3 points, but you've got to play the game how it appears. I think they've started a really strong squad, and we'll see.
Absolutely, and that's exactly it, isn't it, about the squad? Because the same way that Manchester United aren't, you know, they haven't started with Fred today, people are raising eyebrows. There'll be Man United fans looking at the Chelsea lineup going, oh, Kai Havertz hasn't started today, or something. When you've got an important squad, when you've got that depth to be able to rely on everyone, it's really exciting that Graham Potter's got that already.
Well, one thing that we've learnt already from Graham Potter and his Chelsea side is he doesn't mind rotating, he doesn't mind switching up. And we mentioned it a few times with whatever manager was in charge about how, look, if you're changing things up, the other manager can't predict on what you're going to do, and they can't build their side to maybe protect against playing against Kai Havertz, when maybe it's going to be Aubameyang, or maybe it's going to be Broja, or so on and so forth. And so, yeah, I mean, I quite like that. That's personally how I enjoy it. I know there are some people that find it tough, being like, I can't predict it. But I do quite enjoy that, and it keeps people guessing. And also, with the way football is nowadays, managers don't view it as I've got one starting 11. It's very much, who am I playing on this day? What are their weaknesses? What is the play that's going to make sure I can go against their weaknesses and succeed? And I think that's probably the right way of going about it.
Let me ask you as well, does it play into Chelsea's hands that 48 hours ago, Erik ten Hag said that Ronaldo wouldn't be available, wouldn't be involved, because realistically, when Martial's injured, you kind of knew the way they would set up. So does that give us an advantage, or do you think that's, you know, we're kind of looking into things too?
I mean, I think they would have expected anyway him not to start, but I think definitely when you're preparing, you know flat out that there's going to be no Cristiano Ronaldo, who, whatever you think about him, throughout his career has always been a very good striker or a very good forward. And so, yeah, Graham Potter can go, OK, cool, we're not going to have to deal with him, whether that is as a substitute, whether that's him starting and his lethalness in the air or whatever it might be, him in the box, poaching, whatever it might be. We don't have to worry about that. And so, for sure, I mean, there are another like 20 or so players that they do have to worry about and think about, but I think it does definitely help, I guess, when creating a game plan about what you want to do.
And I guess from a Chelsea perspective, the perfect afternoon will be 3 points, a good performance, and no injuries to defenders as well. Kalidou Koulibaly missing this afternoon.
Yeah.
Obviously, Reece James out already.
Yeah.
So today will be important. Marc Cucurella, we're thinking a back three,
Yeah.
which his stand-up performance in a back three was for Brighton against Manchester United last season. So I guess there's a big thing in that.
For sure. And obviously as well, Potter's already faced Manchester United when he was the Brighton manager, got a very, very strong result. He may have already seen what Eric Ten Hag's United want to be doing. Look, if Chelsea can get 3 points today and put a solid performance in, this could really be the beginning of the season and kicking on. And that's not to say it's not been great already, but I think it shows to everyone else that Chelsea are not here to just play about this season.
Absolutely right, yeah. Showing that Chelsea are adaptable today is a big one. Adaptation may be needed midway through the game. Chelsea got a strong bench to rely on as well. We've got a strong team in the gantry to talk us through the action this afternoon. Ben Andrews and Jason Cundy.
And the bonus ball from north of the border. Mr. Nevin joins us. Yes, you got 3 of us, you lucky people. Welcome, one and all. Liquidator playing. It will be Saturday night under the lights at the Bridge, but it's daylight for now still. It should be an excellent game. There's 2 huge clubs who've generally been improving of late, following slightly wobbly starts. Chelsea shut out in midweek at Brentford. United were tearing Tottenham to shreds, but Graham Potter's Chelsea in the tunnel right now. 7 unbeaten under him with 5 wins and 2 draws. Eric Ten Hag at Man United, they've won 4 out of 5 since being drubbed by Man City. 2 big names, generally speaking, winning far more often than not. It's a very tough one to call. And both sets of players are in the tunnel, and both former Blues to my right are looking forward to this as the flames go up and the players come out. It is a tough one to call, isn't it, Mr. Nevin?
Yeah, and you'd expect that. But 2 teams, as you say, are playing a little bit better just now. I've got real confidence about our team. At home, you know, it's a big difference in the Premier League just now. Just have a look around. How many teams are struggling to win away from home in games you'd expect them to win? Found that with Liverpool earlier on today. So, got that home advantage, got these fans behind us. We've got to use all of that today.
If anything, Jason, last 2 games have just been a little wobbly. A little wobbly at the back, not so clinical going forward. There was a lot to like in that spell. There's been a lot to like even with those games with clean sheets generally. But just the last 2, it needs to be upped on that, doesn't it? Villa and Brentford, not quite on point.
Do you know what, Ben? I've thought about this long and hard, and I've had conversations with my boys and mates of mine, are Chelsea fans. I think what we might be looking at is Graham Potter coming into a situation he's never dealt with before. He is dealing with a situation that he would have dreamed about. Champions League, massive games away, home and away at AC Milan. You've got to win both. You've got to win one of them. Wins both. Gets his team selection right. Then all of a sudden he's got to shuffle his pack. He's then thinking about the next game, Aston Villa away. Picks a team for Wolves. Gets it right somewhere. There's all of that going on. But the truth is, we haven't played particularly well. But he's coming away with 4 points away at Villa and away at Brentford. Ain't the worst. The performances, there's a little bit of concern about the way that we've approached the games in both. I agree with that. But I think that Potter's had his eyes on the bigger prize. I think today is the eyes today. He's got injuries to deal with. And do not forget, on Tuesday, there's another competition. The Champions League again returns. This is new to him. I think so far, he is getting a 9 out of 10 for me with what he has done, with everything. Team selection, results, competitions. Now is another big test. Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs, if not the biggest club in the world, going through good form. He's got some injuries to deal with himself, but we'll find out more between now and Wednesday.
The players have shook hands. Stuart Outwell is the referee. Michael Oliver, interestingly, is on VAR duty. He's a less getting involved kind of guy. I hope we're not talking about it, but we probably will be. Kick-off is coming soon. Chelsea in the blue with the White Sox, Man United in the red, white and black. They've made 1 change from the 11 starters that swarmed all over Spurs and probably should have won by about 8 and would have done were it not for Hugo Lloris having an absolute worldie over 90 minutes. They're